Well, hello again, everyone, and a very happy Friday indeed to everyone currently watching on the Tom Colohue YouTube channel. We are going to be talking wrestling today, which is unusual for this channel, despite the fact it's a wrestling channel, so it's not unusual at all. Our main topic of conversation, including a Smackdown preview, is kind of going to be, is WWE Smackdown still the A show? Because while Raw was a bit of a joke earlier in the year, I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore. I really don't. In fact, there's been a sea change in what to actually expect from Raw, especially after the week with Balor, Gable, as I will say, everything that Big E's doing at the moment, Seth Rollins now at the top of the tree doing very good work. It's confusing almost with the amount of very, very high quality entertainment that's happening. Raw's starting to catch up. I liked when I finally got to watch all of it, the slow burn heel turn for Kevin Owens this week, the logic behind it, the attack as it were, and the clear move towards a very dedicated, obvious feud that I think everyone's very excited for. Kevin Owens versus Big E should be a lot of fun for day one. It really should. And that for me carries it forwards very well towards Seth Rollins, who it looks like that championship match will not be the first feud that Big E gets after all, even though Seth will naturally be hovering in the background. But in addition to all of that, before we get into that conversation in too much depth, hello, I'm Tom Colohue. I'm a pro wrestling streamer, interviewer and reporter, as well as a journalist for PW Torch and a member of the Twitch sports team. You are joining me here today on my YouTube channel, where we are currently sitting at, let me get the exact number, 743 subscribers, on a mission to reach that 750 and slowly move towards the 1,000. Things are going very, very well in this channel. That is a large part thanks to the people such as yourselves who are watching. So a quick thank you to people who've joined us so far. Michael, welcome, says, wait, you talk wrestling on this channel? I know, right? Out of nowhere. Really out of nowhere. Now, I don't know why I say out of nowhere, because I don't know enough about wrestling to know why they might say that. Ananda's here as well, saying, hi, Tom. Happy Friday and weekend to you too. Thank you very much, Anand. I appreciate that. The weekend is coming, and guys, I've had a hell of a week. I've just had a fantastic week. I did realise on Monday, by the way, when I had to leave during a watch party, I have not been feeling very well. I've been a little bit sick over the last few days. Not COVID or anything that related. I think I've just been a little bit exhausted, to be completely honest. But I've been a little nursed and a little looked after and a little pampered, and I'm feeling a lot better now. So thank you everyone for your continued patience. So I'm doing very, very well. The week has turned very positive over the last few days, and I am very grateful to all of you for the benefit of the doubt that I've had over the last few shows. Kervin is here as well, saying, hey Kervin, how you doing, mate? And Noob has also joined us, saying good afternoon as well. Welcome, good afternoon, everybody. We will be previewing WWE Smackdown, but as the question is very clear, we'll be asking if Smackdown is still the A show, because over the past few weeks, Smackdown has been missing something key, for me at least. Now, initially, the lack of Roman Reigns had an effect. Last week, the lack of Charlotte Flair had an effect. But really, the show seems to be kind of going through the motions a little bit. It might be a lack of Seth Rollins and Edge. They have been a key component of SmackDown, and they have been missing. It might be that Roman's not really wrestling or that involved at this point in time, just seemingly waiting for the match against Xavier Woods. There's a number of people missing. Becky Lynch is a key figure, who is now missing because she's over on Raw instead. So Raw seems like with Becky and Seth at the top, it's receiving a resurgence, especially with Kevin Owens there as well, doing very good work with Seth and with Big E. SmackDown, meanwhile, it still has Roman, but we've seen Roman. We know the big push is for a feud between Roman and Brock. But where's Brock? He's nowhere. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Brock Lesnar is essentially nowhere to be seen, and that creates a problem because the top feud for Roman isn't there. He's not involved in proceedings. This leaves naturally Xavier Woods in that position, and this should be a huge positive. However, we all know that Roman will just walk away with it. We all know that. And we kind of also all know that this is a build towards Big E versus Roman at Survivor Series. There is a lot happening, just a lot happening right now. And it's all change. SmackDown, I feel, did lose the draft overall. Even though they did get some good pickups, they did lose the draft overall. And we're waiting to see the emergence of people like Shayna Baszler. Xia Li is someone that they picked up and we haven't really seen much of. SmackDown has settled back into the position of being the show for the future. The land of opportunity. Hit Row being Hit Row. Happy Corbin. There is plentiful opportunity for people there, but it's not the land of right now. Whereas Raw is the land of right now. Drew McIntyre also, I feel, is a good addition to SmackDown, but it's taken me a little time to get used to the fact that he's on SmackDown now because he just still feels like a Raw superstar. That was also true of Roman when he first moved to SmackDown, and you got used to that pretty quickly. Michael is sharing his opinion. For anyone who doesn't know, this is an Ask Me Anything show. Any Tom Colohue channel is an Ask Me Anything show, and you can feel free to ask whatever questions you would like and comment on whatever you would like with whatever takes you would like. You're very welcome here. Also, if you're watching, please do remember to click that like button. That little thumbs up can make a big difference, and subscribe if you haven't already. So Michael says, yes, I think it's still the A show. I don't think the likes of Roman and Charlotte need to be on every week. It becomes so formulaic, and that is a very good point. It has become formulaic, I feel, already, particularly when you consider that Roman every week seemed to be either the opening segment or the draw segment, seemed to be in the main event, seemed to beat up someone. It became very NWO run-in by the end of it for the Bloodline. Bit by bit, it seems to be moving away from that, but last week was a bit of a return to form. Charlotte Flair, meanwhile, should add something very, very different, but the only thing people have really been talking about for Charlotte Flair is the little scrap with Becky, and potentially more on that story later. Anan says, Dave Meltzer has reported that WWE are bringing back Brock Lesnar for the 10th of December episode of SmackDown due to pressure from Fox. Is it true? If then, will they build Brock versus Reigns for the Rumble? Very possible on both aspects. I don't necessarily think it's that much pressure from Fox. I think Brock Lesnar is just Brock Lesnar and he's going to cost them a lot, but they're going to build towards a big match, as it were. Brock Lesnar has apparently promised that he will be buying a ticket for ringside, which creates an obvious intention here. We all know why he's there. We all know what he's going to do. Brock Lesnar being firmly and committed on SmackDown, that may come down to the fact that Fox have been chasing him. Brock Lesnar is very much going to be a SmackDown guy for the long term going forwards, apparently, even though there were talks of Brock Lesnar versus Big E earlier in the year. Kervin says, Becky Lynch comments about the backstage heat yesterday. I worried about the match for Survivor Series. I don't. In fact, the comments from Becky Lynch, if anything, make me feel more secure in the match for Survivor Series. She would not have made those comments without having WWE approval, surely, even though Becky Lynch historically doesn't always get WWE approval. There have been sit-down talks, not necessarily between Charlotte and Becky, but between Charlotte and the WWE, and separately, Becky and the WWE, and they have already started discussing how to lay out the match. The match, by all accounts, is going to happen at Survivor Series. The WWE believe that both women will continue to be professional, and there will be no problems actually having the match continue come Survivor Series, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair, with Becky Lynch most likely to win. I do apologise, my throat's gone very, very dry. All of a sudden, I am just going to run and grab a drink. Can you guys please bear with me? I won't be a moment and I'll be right back. I do apologise for that brief intermission. Welcome back, everybody. We are talking about Raw, we are talking about Smackdown, we are talking about the concept of the A show, as it were, and naturally we are answering your questions as well. I am Tom Colohue. I am a pro wrestling YouTuber, streamer, part of the Twitch sports team, a podcast host for PW Torch, and I would very much appreciate it if you could click that little thumbs up just underneath the video to help support the channel. It literally takes a second and makes a massive difference. Anan says, till when do we think WWE will continue with Drew's open challenge every week? I think they should start a proper feud of Drew with someone like Happy Corbin or any other heel, build his momentum further. This will likely continue until at least Survivor Series, the intention being that they are rebuilding Drew McIntyre a little bit, but just getting people used to him again, not in the main event picture. As basically the guy in charge of the Survivor Series team, that is when I expect to see feuds begin, and Baron Corbin being there does suggest that that will be the ideal time to start the Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin feud. It seems perfect for me, and I don't think the WWE would be willing to pass up that opportunity. So for now, Drew will continue to settle in on SmackDown, continue to be booked as the big deal that we all know he is, in the build to Survivor Series, where I feel storylines will begin to become apparent for him, leading into the Royal Rumble, where he'll have several people out for his blood in that match. Just genuinely out for his blood and desperate to eliminate him. This stream is, of course, also a SmackDown preview, so let's talk a little bit about what we can expect from tonight's SmackDown. I will be hosting a live watch party of tonight's SmackDown over on my Twitch channel, which is, and I'll type it in here, twitch.tv/Tom Colohue. The reason I'm still hosting that on Twitch is because I essentially get paid per watch time on Twitch, so the more people watching, the more I get paid, even if you're not necessarily spending any money. Whereas here on YouTube, I'm still not quite monetized. We're working on it, but that means trying to get to that 1,000 subscribers and going from there. So it's unfortunately taking a little bit of time. We will be watching SmackDown live on twitch.tv/Tom Colohue. Let's talk about SmackDown. And the big news is that our main event is Roman Reigns versus Xavier Woods. Now, there is a lot of different elements to this that need to be considered. The main one is that Xavier Woods is King Woods, and he is stepping up to a main event program with the Universal Champion. That is very, very good news, but ultimately he is a stopgap, he is a filler leading into the feud between Roman Reigns and Big E, which isn't necessarily a feud, but will be a SmackDown versus Raw match for Survivor Series. Now, we also need to factor in Xavier Woods' contract status. I need to talk at least briefly about this, because Xavier Woods right now is in contract negotiations with the WWE, and they are not going well. If you watched the YouTube video here on the channel yesterday, you'll be fully aware of what's been going on with Xavier Woods, but basically he's getting a bit of a raw deal, a bit of a stiff deal, if you will, from the company, and he's starting to realise he's worth a lot more than they're paying him. The WWE pissing off Xavier Woods is something that I've seen coming for a while, and have long since said it's the worst thing that the WWE can do, because Xavier Woods is probably the most well-respected man backstage in the entire company. And you could see that when The Undertaker had a dig, and the entire locker room basically leapt to his defense. Kofi Kingston is apparently injured, and by injured I of course mean injured, which means that Kofi Kingston is unlikely to be able to be at ringside to protect Xavier Woods against both Roman and the Usos. We have to factor the Usos in as well. Logically then, this would be a great time to have a visit from Big E. That said, I don't necessarily see an invasion angle in play, especially after Kevin Owens has basically eliminated Big E from the picture and done Roman Reigns a pretty big favour. Never imagined I'd be saying that, but here we are with Kevin Owens doing Roman Reigns a pretty big favour. Now, the match will be a dirty finish. It won't be clean in any way, shape or form, and I believe it's very clear that Roman Reigns will be picking up the win without anyone else really there to back up Big E at Survivor Series or Xavier Woods this week on SmackDown. Roman will stand tall, and it will be treated as a message being sent to the Raw locker room and, of course, to the head of the Raw locker room, the WWE Champion, Big E. Anan says, update on Sheamus' return. Last week, I guess some new superstar, don't remember his name, that was Ridge Holland, mentioned Sheamus' name as his mentor. Have WWE start building base for Sheamus' return feud? Yes, they have. Sheamus, by the way, has not gone anywhere. He just hasn't had anything lined up just yet. He's been wrestling on the UK tour, which makes sense considering he's Sheamus, and wearing a lot of football shirts, which is just quite funny, really. So Sheamus hasn't gone anywhere. He will begin the feud with Ridge Holland relatively soon. I suspect it will be after Survivor Series. I think we're going to see a number of additional backstage vignettes as we build up to that. But when the moment finally comes, it should be a good feud to introduce Ridge Holland, even though I'm not sure a win over Sheamus means all that much anymore, to be entirely blunt. Steve is here. Welcome, Steve. Says, what's up, buddy? Big E being involved in this somewhere makes a lot of sense with Survivor Series around the corner. It does. If there's going to be an invasion, now's the time, because you are essentially invading in order to protect someone. That is more Big E's MO. Big E would not invade to go on the attack, especially knowing that the superstars he would be threatening would basically be his own compatriots. That said, invading to protect Xavier Woods from a continued beatdown from Roman Reigns, that's just a damn good finish to SmackDown. A damn good finish. And the fact that Big E is doing so much more interesting things at the moment, that's what's making me wonder whether or not SmackDown is, of course, still the A show. For anyone just joining us, please do remember to hit that like button. That little thumbs up can make a massive difference. And if you haven't yet done so, please remember to subscribe as well. It does make a big difference to the channel. We are currently sitting on 743 subscribers, which is a very, very good thing. Slowly getting closer to that 750, which will mean like a next elevation for us. So please do consider hitting that like and subscribe if you have not done so yet. Kermit says, no Damian Priest on Raw. They pick their moments with Damian Priest, and I think that's a good thing. The WWE, even after releasing so many people, still are finding moments to avoid overexposing certain wrestlers. It's a way of protecting those wrestlers, and it includes Bianca Belair, hopefully soon, who doesn't need to be on TV every week. Sometimes, the most important thing to do to make you miss a wrestler is to not have them there. We saw this with Roman Reigns a few weeks ago when he was missing from SmackDown, and everybody missed him. Like, everybody missed him. It's unusual for Roman, but yeah, everybody missed him. Hello, Dominic. How you doing, mate? I have some music. It's just not the same music, unfortunately. The music you missed, by the way, it's one of the free tracks that you can get from YouTube. Their background music collection. So if you like it that much, you can always check it out yourself. I believe it's Sun Machine 1 is what it's called. Anand says, initially SmackDown was looking favoured to get the upper hands on Raw this year, but as the shows are progressing and the addition of Bobby Lashley to Raw's men's team, do you think SmackDown will win? I do still think SmackDown will win. I do think the Raw men's team will win. The Bobby Lashley addition is a big one, and it means that we could still get Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre somewhere in the match. But it's one of those. You can't lose with Bobby Lashley in there, surely. That man needs a bit of a rebuild, and he's going to get it. Corbin can't compete with Lashley. McIntyre can compete with Lashley, but he's basically the only one who stands a chance. Kervin believes that WWE needs to drop the third hour of Raw because the ratings are bad this week. The ratings are very bad this week, and that's even after last week, where they had an absolutely fantastic show. They really did last week. However, it's one of those things. The WWE do expect low ratings in around this time of year because of the competition, and by competition, I don't mean wrestling. Numbers will continue to go down. Next year, we'll be having the same conversation, as we have the last 10 years in a row. It's unfortunately the nature of the beast and par for the course now. Pardon me. SmackDown is also likely to continue the build between Charlotte and Becky, even though we haven't really seen a build between Charlotte and Becky. This week, all I really expect is a promo from Charlotte. That's basically all I would expect, in a very similar style to Charlotte's previous promo. Now, Sasha Banks will be involved in her own way. We will continue to see a build between Sasha Banks and Shotzi, potentially even a match between them already, which I think is about the right time to just jump straight in and get started. But when it comes to Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, if there's going to be an invasion, my expectation is that it will be in the women's division, because these two women are going to want to scrap. They're just going to want to scrap. And if we end the go-home show on a pull-apart brawl between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, guys, I'm hype. I am both hype and I'm stay hype. I am stay hype Marshmallow Man. I am hype, basically, is all I'm really saying. We've seen no build at all so far between RK Bro and the Usos because both sides have been doing their own thing. Once again, I don't expect any sort of invasion here, and I don't expect any sort of build. The Usos will be used tonight to further the Roman Reigns versus New Day storyline. Bloodline versus New Day is the story right now, and I have no issue with it, so long may it continue. Drew McIntyre so far has faced off against Sami Zayn, Mustafa Ali, and Ricochet. There's still a number of other people who could jump in. This week, I would love to see Boogs. I'd just like to see Drew McIntyre versus Boogs. I think that would be great, and I'd very much like to see it. In the meantime, we will continue to see a push for Los Lotharios, which sort of suggests that the Usos may be losing the championship soon. Los Lotharios have been used against Shinsuke Nakamura and Boogs recently, but they have also been used in a number of other manners to basically just screw people over. I can see this continuing, and I'm very, very happy about it. Hit Row will also get their own dedicated segment. I'm not sure who they're going to be working with. It's difficult to say. I do like the idea of Hit Row interrupting a Baron Corbin segment. Hit Row, I feel, will be very, very good for that. Meanwhile, speaking of Baron Corbin, he does have an opportunity against Shinsuke Nakamura coming for the Intercontinental Championship. It looks like the WWE are leaving that one until after Survivor Series, but Survivor Series should be a fun one when you consider Shinsuke Nakamura versus Damian Priest. That, just absolutely fun. Just great fun. After that, however, I do see Baron Corbin getting involved again and winning that championship, probably to just be built as mid-card heel or to go against Jeff Hardy again in the near future. We will continue to see a build for a number of other women who are on the roster rather than just Charlotte Flair. I've mentioned Sasha Banks and Shotzi. That will be built moving towards Survivor Series. We also have the continuation with Naomi, who did not get the opportunity to be on the Survivor Series team. Expect an encounter between Naomi and Sonya Deville tonight. How Shayna Baszler fits in, I'm not sure, because she did get the opportunity, and this is the first moment of independence. That said, Naomi could still potentially work her way back onto the team, depending how pissed off Adam Pearce gets. Basically. We will also see a backstage vignette for Aaliyah. I don't think she's going to wrestle tonight, but I've been wrong before when it comes to Aaliyah. We also hopefully will see Natalya, who is going to be on the Survivor Series team, and Jeff Hardy as well, even though neither of them have really been used all that much on SmackDown so far, except Natalya, who of course has not been used even in the slightest. Steve says, no, this is more of a SmackDown stream. It's Ask Me Anything, mate. You get stuck right in. But who would you like to see inside NXT War Games this year? The thing is, I'd love to see like a veteran heel team versus a new up-and-coming face team. Something like LA Knight with Ciampa, Gargano, and... I'm not sure. I was going to say Cameron Grimes, but we are where we are on that one. Timothy Thatcher, if he's still there. Timothy Thatcher. That group of four against Bron Breakker. After that, it gets a bit more difficult. Von Wagner. maybe what's the name? Something Gacy, Joe Gacy, and his Parker Boudreaux size monster behind him. I would just like to see a bit of a Millionaires Club vibe on this one. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're more likely to see, for example, Ciampa, Bron Breakker, Timothy Thatcher, and Von Wagner against Joe Gacy, Johnny Gargano, Parker Boudreaux, and what's his name? Big guy. Big quiet guy. Dexter Lumis. I think we're more likely to see a combination of that. At the same time, if you can find a fourth member for Mandy Rose, Gigi Dolan, and the one whose name I can never honestly remember, I think you could have a very good women's War Games. Because you've got Io Shirai, you've got Zoe Stark, you've got people on the face side who can make an impact. The issue is, of course, that they keep firing people, so that may be the entire roster that somehow gets involved there. Michael says, I have a feeling that this storyline will be dropped and Naomi will disappear. I don't think we're going to see that yet, but I know that the WWE very rarely have continued faith in Naomi to lead the line, as it were. We'll see how that plays out. I remain hopeful, but not too hopeful. And Steve says, do you see any more changes to any of the Survivor Series teams? I do think it's possible that Naomi gets in ahead of Shayna Baszler. That would be a very bad thing for Shayna Baszler, but a very good thing for Naomi, especially if you consider I do kind of think Naomi has an outside shot at being a Royal Rumble winner this year. That said, I still believe Bayley is number one choice. That has been our preview. That has been our discussion. Around about half an hour, as per usual, for these shows. Thank you everyone for joining me. Thank you everyone who hit like and anyone who has newly subscribed. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I will see you next time.